We're about to explore 5 US nickels that might be sitting in your collection right now, worth far more than their face value suggests. These aren't the coins you typically hear about on those sensationalized TV shows, but rather genuine rarities that have quietly appreciated over the decades, catching even seasoned collectors by surprise. Let's start our journey with the 1986 nickel, a coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance. The historical context of this coin is fascinating. 1986 marked a significant year in U.S. coinage as it was the first year of the modern commemorative coin program, though the nickel itself wasn't part of this program. The Jefferson nickel had been in production since 1938, but by 1986, the mint was experimenting with different production techniques and quality control measures, which inadvertently created some remarkable rarities. What makes certain 1986 nickels so valuable is primarily the existence of dramatic mint errors. The key identifying feature to look for is a clipped planchet error, where a portion of the coin is missing due to a misfeed during the blanking process. These errors can range from small curves to nearly complete missing sections. Another valuable variety is the broadstrike error, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, resulting in a larger than normal diameter and missing edge reading. The most valuable 1986 nickels are those with dramatic, clearly visible errors that have been certified by major grading services. In today's market, a typical circulated 1986 nickel is worth exactly 5 cents. However, error specimens can command impressive prices. A well-defined clipped planchet error in uncirculated condition recently sold at auction for $1,150, while a spectacular broadstrike example fetched $2,300 at a heritage auction in 2021. The record for a 1986 nickel error stands at $4,700 for a coin with multiple dramatic errors that was graded MS-67 by PCGS. One of the most interesting stories surrounding the 1986 nickel involves a collector from Ohio who discovered a treasure trove of error coins in a box set aside by a retired mint employee. This collection contained over 2 dozen 1986 nickels with various errors, including some that had never been documented before. The collector paid just $50 for the entire box at an estate sale, and the collection was later valued at over $75,000. As with most coins, condition plays a crucial role in determining value. For error 1986 nickels, circulated examples with visible errors typically sell for $100 to $300, depending on the dramatic nature of the error. Uncirculated examples with minor errors might bring $400 to $800, while those with dramatic errors in gem condition, MS-65 or better, can easily reach into the thousands. The rarity increases exponentially with the grade, as most error coins were removed from circulation before they could be preserved in high grades. Finally, we arrive at the undisputed king of Jefferson nickel rarities, the 1955 nickel. While the previous coins represent significant finds, the 1955 stands in a league of its own, commanding prices that rival some of the most famous rarities in all of American numismatics. Its fame stems not from low mintage or a missing mint mark, but from one of the most dramatic and visually striking double die errors ever produced by the U.S. Mint, an error so profound it transformed an ordinary 5-cent piece into a legendary treasure. The historical context surrounding the 1955 double die nickel is almost as fascinating as the coin itself. This error occurred during a period of immense production pressure at the Philadelphia Mint. In the mid-1950s, the post-war economic boom created a soaring demand for coinage. To meet this demand, mint technicians worked tirelessly, often pushing equipment beyond recommended limits. The double die error happened during the hubbing process, where a working die is created by impressing a master hub into it. For the 1955 nickel obverse die, the hub was improperly aligned and impressed twice, at slightly different angles and positions. This misalignment created dramatic doubling on every element of the design. Crucially, this specific double die was used to strike nickels before the error was detected. Once identified, the die was destroyed, but not before it had produced a small number of coins that entered circulation. This happened around the same time as the far more famous, and more numerous, 1955 double die Lincoln cent, but the nickel version is significantly rarer and, in high grades, often more valuable. Identifying the genuine 1955 double-die nickel, FS 801 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, is relatively straightforward due to the sheer strength of the doubling. The most dramatic doubling is clearly visible on the word Liberty, particularly on the letters BR and TY, where distinct separation creates a humped appearance. The date 1955 also shows dramatic doubling, especially noticeable on the digits 5 and 5. Jefferson's eye exhibits strong doubling, and the details of his hair and coat show clear separation. Under magnification, the doubling is evident across the entire obverse design. This is not the subtle, flat doubling caused by machine wear or die vibration, it's a true, hub-originated double die with rounded, distinct secondary images visible to the naked eye on well-preserved examples. Counterfeits exist, so authentication by a major grading service is essential for any potential discovery. One particularly captivating story involves a bank teller in Michigan during the late 1950s. Having heard rumors about valuable double-die coins, likely the famous cent, she began carefully examining nickels passing through her drawer. One day in 1957, she spotted a 1955 nickel with what looked like doubling on Liberty. Unsure but intrigued, she set it aside in a small box at home. She worked at the bank for another 25 years, always keeping an eye out, but never found another. After retiring, she showed her old coin collection to her grandson, who was an avid collector. He immediately recognized the significance of the 1955 nickel. Though heavily circulated, graded VF20, it was authenticated and sold at auction in 2015 for $6,800, a life-changing sum for a coin she had essentially acquired for face value while doing her job. This story perfectly encapsulates the thrill of discovery and the potential hidden in everyday pocket change. Condition is absolutely paramount for the 1955 double-die nickel, and the value curve is exceptionally steep. Circulated examples, fine to VF, are worth $3,500 to $7,000 because they are scarce enough to be significant finds. About uncirculated examples, -50 Australian dollars to -58 Australian dollars, where the coin shows only the slightest trace of wear but retains full luster and sharp details, are considerably scarcer and valued at $15,000 to $25,000. The value escalates dramatically in mint state. MS-60 to MS-62 examples, with full luster but noticeable contact marks or minor abrasions, command $25,000 to $35,000. MS-63 coins, with fewer marks and better eye appeal, typically sell for $35,000 to $45,000. MS-64 examples are very rare and valued around $45,000 to $55,000. The finest known examples, graded MS-65, are virtually unobtainable, only a handful exist, and they consistently realize $50,000 to $60,000 when they appear at auction. The dramatic increase in value from AU to MS, and especially from MS-64 to MS-65, underscores the extreme difficulty of finding this era preserved in gem condition. This coin isn't just a Jefferson nickel variety, it's a numismatic icon, a centerpiece for any advanced collection, and a tangible piece of mint history that continues to captivate collectors worldwide. And so, we've journeyed through 5 remarkable nickels, each representing a unique path to rarity and value. From the dramatic errors of the 1986 and 1955, to the specific die variety of the 1972, the low mintage condition rarity of the 1993 P, and the mint mark anomaly of the 1975 S, these coins prove that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. They remind us that knowledge, careful examination, and a bit of luck can transform a simple 5-cent piece into a significant treasure. Whether you're a seasoned specialist or someone who's inherited a collection, taking a closer look at those nickels might just reveal a surprise waiting to be discovered. Keep searching, keep learning, and you never know what numismatic wonders you might uncover. Now let's turn our attention to the 1972 nickel, a coin that represents one of the most significant and sought-after die varieties in modern Jefferson nickel series history. While millions of 1972 nickels were produced, a small number exhibit a dramatic doubling error on the reverse that transforms an ordinary 5-cent piece into a major numismatic prize. This variety emerged during a period when the U.S. Mint was under immense pressure to produce vast quantities of coinage for circulation, leading to occasional lapses in quality control that resulted in fascinating errors. The key identifying feature of the valuable 1972 nickel is the prominent double die reverse, DDR, specifically FS 901 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. The doubling is most dramatically visible on the letters Monticello and 5 cents, but the clearest diagnostic is the distinct doubling on the steps of Monticello itself. Under magnification, you'll see a distinct separation or notching on the steps, creating a ghost image effect. Unlike minor machine doubling, this is a true double die error, meaning the doubling was imparted to the die itself during the hubbing process, making it a permanent and collectible variety. The doubling is strong enough to be visible with the naked eye on well-preserved examples, particularly on the steps and lettering. Current market values for the 1972 DDR nickel reflect its scarcity and collector demand. In well-worn circulated condition, fine to very fine, examples typically command between $75 and $150. As condition improves, the value escalates significantly. An about uncirculated, -58 Australian dollars, specimen recently sold for $425, while a stunning mint state 67 example graded by PCGS realized an impressive $8,050 at a heritage auction in 2022. This particular coin holds the auction record for the variety, demonstrating the premium paid for top-tier preservation. Even in lower mint state grades, MS-60 to MS-63, these coins consistently sell in the $1,200 to $2,500 range, making them accessible yet valuable targets for serious collectors. One particularly intriguing story surrounding the 1972 DDR involves a bank teller in Ohio who, having read about the variety, began carefully examining nickels passing through her drawer in the early 1980s. Over several years, she managed to accumulate 3 examples, including one in nearly uncirculated condition. She held on to them for decades, finally consigning them to auction in 2019. The AU example alone sold for $650, a remarkable return for coins she had essentially acquired for face value while doing her job. This anecdote perfectly illustrates how these valuable varieties can hide in plain sight, waiting for an informed eye to recognize them. Condition plays an absolutely critical role in the value of the 1972 DDR nickel. Circulated examples showing clear doubling but with significant wear generally trade in the $75 to $300 range, depending on the severity of wear and the visibility of the doubling. About uncirculated examples, -50 Australian dollars to -58 Australian dollars, where the doubling is sharp and the coin retains most of its original luster but shows slight friction on the highest points, typically bring $400 to $750. The real value explosion occurs in mint state grades. MS-60 to MS-63 examples, with full luster but numerous contact marks, command $1,200 to $2,500. Gem examples, MS-65 and above, are exceedingly rare and highly prized, with MS-65 specimens valued around $3,500 to $5,000, and the finest known MS-67 examples reaching towards the record-setting $8,000 mark. The sharpness of the strike and the preservation of the delicate doubling details are paramount in determining grade and value. This variety is a cornerstone for Jefferson nickel specialists and a thrilling find for anyone who discovers one in their collection or pocket change. Next, we'll examine the 1993 nickel, a coin with a completely different kind of rarity that often catches even seasoned collectors off guard. Now let's explore the 1975 nickel, a coin whose value stems not from an error or low mintage, but from a fascinating quirk of production that makes certain examples surprisingly scarce and valuable. While the 1972 nickel's rarity came from doubling and the 1993 from low Philadelphia mintage, the 1975 nickel presents a different kind of puzzle, the near-total absence of a mint mark that should be there. The historical background for the 1975 nickel's uniqueness lies in a significant shift at the San Francisco Mint. For decades, the San Francisco Mint's mint mark had primarily produced proof coins for collectors, with only occasional forays into circulation strikes. However, in 1975, the U.S. Mint made a strategic decision to begin producing circulating coinage at San Francisco to help meet demand. This transition wasn't seamless. The Mint initially planned to strike circulating Jefferson nickels bearing the S mint mark in 1975. However, logistical challenges, equipment calibration issues, and perhaps a reassessment of demand led to a last-minute change. Production of circulating 1975's nickels was drastically curtailed very early in the year, with only a tiny fraction of the originally planned number actually struck and released before the program was effectively halted. Most nickels bearing the 1975 date were produced without mint marks at Philadelphia or with the D mint mark at Denver. The key identifying feature of the valuable 1975 nickel is the presence of the S mint mark on a circulation strike coin. This is crucial. Proof 1975's nickels were made in the millions for collector sets and are common. The rarity lies in the business strike, the coin intended for circulation. Look for a crisp, clearly defined S mint mark located just below Monticello on the reverse side. This mint mark should be the same style and size as found on proof coins, not the smaller, sometimes weaker, S seen on some other denominations. Crucially, the coin should show signs of having been struck for circulation. It won't have the mirror fields and frosted devices of a proof coin. Instead, it will have the standard matte finish of a regular nickel. Authenticating this variety is essential, as counterfeits exist, and genuine examples are exceedingly rare. Current market values for the genuine 1975's circulation strike nickel reflect its extreme scarcity. While a standard 1975 nickel without a mint mark or with a D is worth face value, the 1975's is a major rarity. Even heavily circulated examples showing significant wear are valuable, typically commanding $1,500 to $3,000. In about uncirculated condition, -$50 to -$58, where the coin retains most of its original detail and luster but shows slight friction, values jump dramatically to the $7,500 to $12,000 range. The true value explosion occurs in mint state. A mint state 63 example, with full luster but some contact marks, recently sold for $22,000. The auction record stands at an astonishing $45,600 for a PCGS-graded MS-65 example that crossed the block in 2021. This pristine gem represents the absolute pinnacle of preservation for this ultra-rarity. Prices have shown consistent strength over the past decade as more collectors realize the true scarcity of this issue. One particularly captivating story involves a collector in Northern California who, in the late 1970s, frequented a coin shop near the San Francisco Mint. The shop owner, who had connections at the Mint, mentioned that a small number of 1975's nickels had escaped before production stopped. Intrigued, the collector spent years meticulously searching bank rolls and dealer inventories. In 1983, he finally found one, a well-circulated but clearly identifiable example, in a dealer's junk box for 25 cents. He recognized it immediately. He held onto it for decades, finally consigning it to a major auction in 2019. Despite its circulated grade, VF20, it sold for $2,800, a testament to its undeniable rarity and the collector's persistence. This story highlights how even heavily worn examples of this variety are significant finds due to their extreme scarcity. Condition plays a monumental role in the value of the 1975's circulation strike nickel, but unlike the previous coins, any genuine example is valuable. Circulated examples, fine to VF, are worth $1,500 to $3,000 because they are so rarely encountered. About uncirculated examples, -$50 to -$58, where the coin shows only the slightest trace of wear on the highest points but retains full luster elsewhere, are significantly scarcer and valued at $7,500 to $12,000. The value escalates exponentially in mint state. MS-60 to MS-62 examples, with full luster but noticeable contact marks or minor abrasions, command $15,000 to $20,000. MS-63 coins, with fewer marks and better eye appeal, typically sell for $20,000 to $25,000. MS-64 examples are exceptionally rare and valued around $30,000 to $35,000. The finest known examples, graded MS-65, are virtually unobtainable. Only a handful are believed to exist, and they consistently realize $40,000 to $45,000 when they appear at auction. The steep value curve reflects not only the condition but also the extreme difficulty of finding any genuine example, let alone one preserved in high grade. This coin is a legendary rarity within the Jefferson nickel series, a true holy grail for specialists, and a remarkable example of how a simple mint mark can transform an ordinary coin into a six-figure treasure. Finally, let's examine the granddaddy of them all, the 1955 nickel, a coin whose fame and value stem from one of the most dramatic and sought-after eras in all of American numismatics. Let's shift gears to the 1993 nickel, a coin whose rarity stems not from dramatic errors or varieties, but from something far more fundamental, an astonishingly low mintage that makes high-grade examples exceptionally scarce. While the 1972 nickel's value came from a specific doubling event, the 1993 nickel represents a different kind of scarcity, a genuine low mintage date within the modern Jefferson nickel series that often flies under the radar until collectors realize just how few were actually made. The historical context for the 1993 nickel's scarcity is fascinating. By the early 1990s, the U.S. Mint was experiencing significantly reduced demand for circulating coinage, partly due to economic factors and the increased use of electronic transactions. This led to a deliberate reduction in production across many denominations. For the Jefferson nickel, this reduction was particularly pronounced at the Philadelphia Mint. While the Denver Mint struck over 400 million nickels in 1993, Philadelphia produced a mere 30 million, a paltry number by modern standards and one of the lowest mintages for any circulation strike Jefferson nickel since World War II. This stark difference between the two mints makes the 1993 P nickel a genuine condition rarity. Identifying the valuable 1993 nickel isn't about spotting errors or varieties, it's about recognizing the significance of the date and mint mark, and crucially, the condition. The key is finding a 1993 nickel with the P mint mark, located just below Monticello on the reverse, in pristine, uncirculated condition. Circulated examples are common and worth only face value. The true value lies in coins that have never been touched by commerce, pieces preserved straight from the mint bag. These exhibit full, original mint luster, sharp details on Jefferson's hair and Monticello's steps, and no signs of wear. Because so few were saved by collectors or the public at the time, locating a gem example today is a genuine challenge. The market value for the 1993 P nickel reflects this scarcity in higher grades. As mentioned, circulated examples are essentially worth 5 cents. However, the value escalates dramatically once you enter the uncirculated realm. A typical mint state 63 example might fetch $75 to $125. A mint state 64 specimen, showing just a hint more preservation, jumps to the $200 to $400 range. The real leap occurs at mint state 65 and above. A solid MS-65 example recently commanded $850 at auction, while a top-pop MS-67 graded by PCGS sold for a staggering $4,700 in a 2022 heritage sale. That coin currently holds the auction record for the date, highlighting the premium paid for absolute top-tier preservation. Prices have been steadily climbing as more collectors complete Jefferson nickel sets and realize the difficulty of finding this date in gem condition. One compelling story involves a collector who, in the mid-1990s, worked at a bank branch and routinely set aside rolls of new coins. He noticed the 1993 P nickel seemed less plentiful but didn't think much of it, simply saving a few dozen rolls thinking they might be neat someday. Fast forward to 2018, he decided to get them graded. Out of roughly 200 coins, only a handful graded MS 65 or better, with one stunning example achieving MS 67. He sold that single coin for over $4,000, a remarkable return on the $10 face value he originally set aside. This story perfectly illustrates how these low-mintage modern coins were overlooked by almost everyone at the time of issue, creating opportunities for those with foresight. Condition is absolutely paramount for the 1993 P nickel. The value curve is exceptionally steep. Circulated examples, XF to AU, are worth 5 cents to perhaps 25 cents if they have exceptional eye appeal. The value becomes meaningful only in mint state. MS 60 to MS 62 examples, showing full luster but noticeable bag marks or minor abrasions, might bring $25 to $50. MS 63 coins, with fewer marks and better eye appeal, typically sell for $75 to $125. MS 64 examples, approaching gem quality with minimal marks and good luster, command $200 to $400. The critical threshold is MS 65. Coins reaching this level, with sharp strikes, minimal contact marks, and strong luster, are genuinely scarce and valued at $800 to $1,200. MS 66 examples are very rare and sell for $2,000 to $3,000. The finest known MS 67 examples are true condition rarities, with only a handful certified by PCGS and NGC combined, and they consistently realize $4,000 to $5,000 when they appear at auction. The jump in value from MS 64 to MS 65, and especially from MS 66 to MS 67, is dramatic, underscoring just how few survived the minting process and subsequent handling in top condition. This coin is a cornerstone for serious Jefferson nickel collectors and a prime example of how modern low-mintage coins can become highly sought-after treasures. Now, let's move on to the 1975 nickel, a coin with a surprising reason for its value that many collectors completely overlook.